I had a couple different traumas. I was raped when I was 16. I lost my virginity to a rape when I was 25. I was attacked broad daylight, beaten, attempted abduction. And I will 1000% say I have cured that. I feel no anxiety. I'm totally fine talking about those scenarios now without breaking down. I have done my forgiveness work. Like, I don't live in anxiety. I don't live in depression. I don't live in PTSD. Couldn't go anywhere without thinking there was a boogeyman behind every single corner. I was introduced to plant medicine work, and it was unbelievably transformational.
Welcome to the Fire, Soul, and Grace podcast. I'm Dr. Christy Tompkins, functional medicine practitioner and transformational coach. If you are looking to up-level your health in body, mind, and spirit, scale your business, improve your relationships, and create a life you love, you are in the right place. Every other week, we'll bring you a topic and feature incredible guests worldwide. Be inspired and feel empowered to live your life with greater joy, meaning, and purpose. I'm excited you're here. Let's get started. Welcome to the Fire, Soul, and Grace podcast. I'm Dr. Christy Tompkins, and today I am so excited for my guest. I have with me Jennifer McNiven in the studio today. Jen McNiven is a passionate branding photographer who loves to capture the details, essence, personality, and authenticity of people and their brands. After leaving a 13-year biomedical corporate career, Jen has had the incredible opportunity to photograph in the most exotic places like Bali, Peru, Europe, Australia, Morocco, the Pacific Northwest, and the Colorado Rocky Mountains. Inspired by her own life experiences that led to the book she wrote, Mind, Body, Soulmate, Jen loves to help others step out of their proverbial box, find more joy and meaning, deepen their connection with themselves. Jen is naturally drawn to the beauty of nature, scouting for heart rocks, all things related to health and wellness, including teaching yoga, ecstatic dance, and loves to spend time with her soulmate, Manny, and their beautiful family. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited you're here with me as well. So I met Jen, I think it was last year at a local networking event. We both live in Colorado. So a local networking group where she was presenting on her craft, brand photography, and all the other cool adventures and projects that she's up to. And she also did my pictures, my recent brand pictures that I still need to select. She's definitely a professional. So tell me a little bit more about, you have a very unique background in the sense that you had your start as far as education, college, graduate program. You went down a certain path, but then you decided at some point in your life to pivot into
Yeah.
something completely different. So kind of walk us down that path and why you decided to change careers.
Yeah. So I had, since college, always wanted to do physical therapy. Thought I was going to do sports medicine. I got into physical therapy school. I graduated. And as I was about to get out and have a traditional physical therapy job, I was actually offered by another friend of mine who was looking at a different but similar career within the physical therapy world and in biomedical devices, working within the physical therapy world, also in surgeries, which was really cool. And I was interested in what she was doing. And I ended up inadvertently finding a job in that same biomedical career. So I actually never practiced physical therapy in the traditional sense. And I did spend about 12 and a half years in a couple different realms of the biomedical industry. I lived in Seattle. I had a 5-state territory. So I traveled the whole Pacific Northwest, including Alaska, Montana, Idaho, Oregon, Washington. And it was one of those things where it was It was something that I was really passionate about because I still got to do my physical therapy in a way. But as a military brat, I was one of those kids that we moved around a lot. And so every time we had moved somewhere, I always had a camera with me documenting. I was always the photographer in college back in the day when you get the Walmart special and you get the doubles or the triples, and I always got the triples to give to all my girlfriends. And so I always had a camera by my side. In 2004, I was invited to document a friend's wedding. And of course, there's always, that one person who's like, oh, I don't care. Just my uncle will do the photos. I felt like I was that person. I think I made 250 bucks, but it turned into a side job that I was really, really passionate about. I loved photographing people and also the details because I got to travel 5 states all the time. I was always going out hiking and wanting to like capture, details. After my almost 13-year career kind of came to an end, I burnt out. I had had that photography business for almost 10 years as a side business. And I had enough airline miles. I had enough money saved up at the time. And I was encouraged to go travel and spend a little like gap, between finding another job. And I went away and I went to Bali. That's actually a crazy story in and of itself. But I get to Bali and I realized that I wasn't happy back at home. I really didn't even know what it was that I liked. I didn't know what I wanted. I was really in a funk of sorts where I needed to figure some stuff out. And I started doing more yoga and meditation and breath work. I took my camera with me to Bali, just because I knew I was going to document things regardless. And when I was there, I started meeting, yoga instructors who wanted their photos in a beautiful rice field. And I was like, I'll do that. Yeah. And then there was the digital nomad, who was an online business coach and they needed photos. And I'm like, I'll do that too, because I've already been, capturing people. Then there was retreats and they invited me to document their retreats for the week. And so it slowly became weddings, families, babies, maternity into more of the capturing the essence of a retreat, more of the branding work. And so it was one of those things that just gently shifted, but it was something I had been passionate about for years. And what's interesting, I ended up getting my yoga teacher certification. I never went back to the corporate world. I was scrutinized big time for not doing so. I was basically outed by not outed, what do you call that? Where they send you away. They're like, you are no longer welcome back in our community. You know,
You were
um,
different. Yeah.
yeah. So my family kind of rejected me. My friends were like, who are you? What are you doing? And so I kept traveling. And it turned in from 1 month to 4.5 years of around the world travel, taking my camera with me. And every step of that was not planned. It was the step just kind of kept popping up in front of me as I took a step forward, the stone would appear and I would step on it and then another one would appear. And I just kept getting invited to do retreats and to photograph people and to teach yoga. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 10 years now. And it was again, I didn't intend to be an entrepreneur. I didn't intend to be a business owner, the way that I am now. But that's, you know, a little bit of a long story short, but yeah, I wrote a book about it. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
of a longer story.
Yeah, no, I will dive into your book in just a minute, but I feel like that I love that journey of spontaneity and really trust. Not to say I'm sure
Mhm.
you didn't have your moments of, "Oh crap, what am I doing?" Is
Yeah.
this isn't a full-time corporate job. I'm traveling and then of course you get this backlash from your tribe, your colleagues, your community that's like, "You can't just travel the world. What are you like, teenager or
Yeah.
somebody in college. And it's like, I just love that you followed your heart. I mean, you truly followed your soul, your heart, and you're like, I need a break from that corporate environment of
Yeah.
feeling burned out and trying to live up to society's expectations, other people's expectations, probably your own expectations too. Just
Hmm.
having that sense of freedom. And it actually takes a lot of courage and a lot of self-trust, and not that's why I love your story. Is not everybody is able to do that because of kids or other
Right.
family obligations. Yeah. And so the fact that you had that autonomy and independence to be able to just kind of like create, like you said, chart your own path and just kind of go with the flow, it led to another step, like, the make a decision, the universe responds. Take the next
Yeah.
step, the universe responds. It's like it's like following the breadcrumb trail, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to keep going. And then the universe is like, all right, we're going to show you this opportunity and this path. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And mind you, I didn't start until I was 38.
Yeah, even
So
better.
it was something like, all the people in Bali at the time were in their either late 20s, or early 20s to early 30s. And, while I've been told I look younger than I am and I fit
You
in
do.
with that crowd, I was definitely a lot older than most of the people there at the time. This was back in 2013.
And sometimes people that are younger just kind of brings out a different side of
Mhm.
you, that
Yeah.
innocence, and almost like you have the wisdom or more wisdom than maybe they do, but it brings out this sense of playfulness and joy that
Yeah.
you already have that in you, but it just kind of brings out a little bit more. And that's great that you obviously you had a passion for photography at a very young age, and you were able to transform that into I know you do a lot of different things, but you're able to transform that into your main profession. And especially
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, I mean, obviously most entrepreneurs or most professional photographers are entrepreneurs these days. What was the turning point in your life where you were like, I want to make this full time? I want to do this for a living.
Oh, I don't know if there ever was like a point of me saying yes. I think it was the fact that I didn't want to go back to corporate. I felt my soul was absolutely saying no. And so I think it was more of the opposite where I'm like, no, I don't want to go back to the corporate world and I want to continue to make this work. And, you know, it was something, and it still can be something where it's not as profitable as I would like it to be in the grand scheme of living, but it was something that afforded me a different type of value in life. And that was freedom, it was flexibility, it was making my own schedule. I'm a traveler through and through. And when I came back to the States and I realized, like, okay, I want to sit still for a while. I landed in Boulder. I no longer live in Seattle. I left Seattle and after 20 years. And so I left Seattle, came to Boulder, and it wasn't too long after, that COVID hit. And then, then I'm in a situation of like, oh, where am I going to go? Nowhere. You're sitting right where you're at. And then my boyfriend and I ended up moving in together with his kids. And so life just kind of unfolded in a unique way where there was never like this just gut decision of, yes, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I really wanted to do coaching. I wanted to do functional medicine, and I know that's what you do. And so it's just like there were so many things that I still wanted to do, but photography was the thing that was just always right there. It was what I was known for. It's what people responded to when they saw my work, and they really resonated with me as a photographer. And so it just, again, the universe just kept leading the breadcrumbs. And so I just kept following and saying, okay, like, oh, it's time to update a website. I guess I'm going to update my website. How am I going to make it better this time? Instead of being like, I'm a CEO. here's my business, So it was probably not as methodical and planned and calculated. Granted, if anybody's into astrology, I am a double Pisces and a Taurus moon. So being a Pisces is the energy of going with the flow. It is the energy of, well, whatever. And I am that person. And so this isn't something that would be for everybody, but it was just very much aligned with who I am. And I had my birth chart read for the first time when I was 42. And I didn't even know about birth charts. And there was very much a correlation to me going away. It was kind of like the hero's journey. I go away, I go through my struggles, I go through my own trials and tribulations, I learn it, I come back and I teach it. And I felt like that's very much of what I had been doing my whole life. And so I just felt like my travels were part of that. And it's still overflowing today for me sharing what it is that I learned and what I am continuing to learn.
Yeah, the hero's journey is it's something that you don't ask for. It's something you
Yeah.
don't choose, right? You go through this difficult time of self-discovery and kind of recreation and a lot of, often a lot of heartbreak and pain. And I know you talk about that in your book and your
Mhm.
experiences of travel and like we talked about a little bit ago, just following that traditional path of, you go to school and then you get married and you have kids and then you retire. And it's like, I think less and less people are going down that traditional boxed in thinking of I can create my own path. I can keep recreating that over and over again. And you definitely have the personality to have that go with the flow,
Yeah.
flexibility, socializing, connecting, really building that intuitive rapport with people. I mean, it just comes very natural. And I think that's the key here is like doing what feels natural to you. And not everybody's able to go do something that actually was something they did as a child or something that speaks to their heart full time. That's not always financially feasible for some people,
Yeah.
but it can't be. One of the things you mentioned about, the travel and all the experiences that you had, what was the one thing that you learned the most about your experience traveling abroad at that time in your life? Because I know you still do that today. What was the one thing
Mhm.
you learned the most about you or that surprised you about yourself with all those experiences?
Well, this might open up a whole new can of conversation, but I started learning about different healing modalities. And I realized talk therapy was just, for me, regurgitation, and it never got anywhere. And so I just felt like the hamster on the wheel going round and round, and I needed a stick in that wheel, and I needed to fling myself off, and I needed to go find something new. And because I had shared that with people, I was introduced to plant medicine work. So I started doing, psilocybin, ayahuasca, and different plant medicines that helped me in that healing journey. I had never done drugs. I was super, alcohol is a drug, but that's pretty much the only thing I'd ever done. I didn't smoke, I didn't do anything. But when I was approached about it, it was one of those things that I was terrified, but I also didn't want to research. I wanted to go in kind of blind and just go for it for the experience that I was trusting. And I think that's what surprised me the most is that I didn't do the research and I went in fully just with my hands up like, okay, here we go. And it was unbelievably transformational. And it wasn't just one time. I mean, I think over the past 10 years, I've done it like 18 times. And it was something, but I've done other plant medicines. So I've done peyote, I've done wachuma, the psilocybin, I've done MDMA-assisted therapy. So these different things led me to different understandings. And it's that onion that peels back, it's different layers. So it's not a one and done. And it was it's something that still terrifies me when I think about doing it, but it was so, so beneficial. And I share about it so much now. And I have literally, not that I've done any of the work, but I have guided so many women and men to the medicine, to different people that I know and I trust and I love. And they have had so much healing. And so my ripple effect, having done that, having never done drugs, and I don't call it a drug anymore. I totally call it plant medicine because it is medicine. It does heal. I'm surprised that I'm an advocate, like I'm surprised that that's what I'm so passionate about talking about now. In fact, I had a conversation this morning at a networking group about it. And that lady is so excited to maybe go try it with her husband together. So it's one of those things that it's still going on when I was exposed to it 10 years ago.
How has it changed? So you mentioned psilocybin, ayahuasca, a few others. How has it changed your life in the sense of healing or insight or revelation?
Yeah. So I had a couple different traumas. I was raped when I was 16. I lost my virginity to a rape when I was 25. I was attacked broad daylight, beaten, attempted abduction, and it left a ripped ligament in my spine, which is at like the T4. I'm totally blanking right now. Sorry. Like T4 level, which is like
Mhm.
your heart space.
Mhm.
And so I had always had anxiety. And I went to an osteopath and they said that, because I asked, what can I do about my spine? And he was feeling my heart, and my heart was so adhered with almost like scar tissue from emotional, component, not so much the physical component. And so I was just like dumbfounded. I'm like, well, how do you heal that? How do you heal something emotionally that is physically causing you that problem? And I will 1,000% say I have cured that. I feel no anxiety. I have come to a full, like, I'm totally fine talking about those scenarios now without breaking down. I have done my forgiveness work. And so there has been, like, I don't live in anxiety. I don't live in depression. I don't live in PTSD. Like, I couldn't go anywhere without thinking there was a boogeyman behind every single corner. So I feel like the work on that level was so profound. But I have done all of the karmic family, mother wounds, all of that as well, which also was holding me back. I've never been married, and I thought for sure I would be one of the early birds, out of my friend group to be married, have kids, have all the traditional things. And it didn't happen that way. So I just have to also just appreciate the way life did unfold and what I was able to do because now I do get to share it with other people.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story of, I mean, truly the hero's journey of that, the psychological, emotional, social trauma that you went through. And you're right. The body, the saying, the body keeps score. The body
Oh, yeah.
does hold on to the trauma. I mean, sometimes it can release it, but I would say more often than not, I mean, time doesn't always heal. Rarely does it just heal, especially with something that truly traumatizing with the assault, with the rape. And for you to embark on that vulnerable path of healing in whatever modality, whatever plant medicine or whatever healing therapies, and there's just a countless number of quote natural healing modalities across the world that's available to us that I think most people don't know that they have that capability of healing. And I guess it's really finding the right people, the right treatments, the right therapies that's going to work best for you. Because it's not a one size fits all. That's with anything with regard to the
Mhm.
human body. But you were able to come out of that on the other side of I am transformed and now I want to share my wisdom and my story with others. And
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I want to get back to the photography here in just a minute, but you mentioned yoga. So
Mhm.
you obviously became a yoga teacher and started teaching, and you still do today. You
Mhm.
still teach at a local studio here in Denver. Tell me about, or tell us about the one thing that you love the most about yoga and how it's impacted your life in a positive way.
Yeah. So I started with my like a traditional vinyasa yoga. I did 300 hours of that. And then I decided to do a therapeutic modality. So I did another 100 hours. And I really wanted to get into the therapy side of yoga with healing because of my physical therapy background. And then I worked with another practitioner, another yoga instructor who did myofascial yin yoga. She now calls it dynamic spiral yoga. But the myofascial is exactly what I was going through was my fascia or the for those who don't know what fascia is, it's kind of like a thin mesh like material that surrounds all your muscle bundles and fibers and bones and organs. And it's basically like a cobweb throughout your entire body, connecting us from head to toe, literally. And that's where emotions and memories and traumas are stored. And so when I started to learn about this myofascial yin yoga, I was really drawn to it because not only was it healing for me, I was witnessing it with other people. And so that's something that there's a million yoga studios out there. There's a million different types of yoga that you can do. But this is very specialized and it's like a deep tissue massage, but it's so therapeutic. And it's really intense for those who have never tried it, but it's, some people call it like a hurt so good. You want that deep tissue massage, but
Mhm.
you don't want to go there by yourself. But if somebody's guiding you, you'll go. And I have never had anybody not end one of those classes without going, oh my God, I needed that. Yeah, so that's what I'm teaching now. That's what I offer. I do retreats where I photograph and I teach yoga. I might hold space, we might hold a ceremony of some sort, but that's really where my passion lies within yoga is tuning in and really, really, really being within your body to notice what's coming up when you're working in those areas.
Yeah, you're right. That sounds beautiful. That's not a common modality of yoga. And I think you're right. There's a lot of yoga studios that offer the hot yoga, the
Mhm.
soul yoga, surrender yoga, whatever terms or, very societal terms that we give it. And those can also be very helpful for those
Oh,
people
for
that
sure.
want the
Yeah.
grounding and the stretching and the strengthening and the, balancing that parasympathetic system. What you're offering though is quite different. So is this something where there's a little bit more kind of like yoga teacher or just teacher guidance with the
Yeah.
participants in the class versus just here's what I'm doing. I'm up on the front and take care. We'll see you next week. You're probably a lot more actively physically involved in those
Yeah,
participants.
and I mean, you use tennis balls and a yoga block, so it's the tennis balls. So just really helping people understand placement, the muscles, what's kind of correlated, understanding the origin of a muscle, where it begins, to the insertion of a muscle, where it ends, because we work those muscle groups. Also, what are the emotions that kind of go within certain areas of the body, breathing into that. So it's kind of like when I'm teaching and it's just a constant reminder, relaxing your body, relaxing your face, relaxing your eyes, your cheeks, relaxing other body parts that might be tense, because when you fully allow your body just to be still, it tends to trust and then finally give. So most people, when they roll, they'll roll really fast and their like body's going ow, 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 ow the whole time. And this is, oh, okay, fine. All right, fine. Okay. All right, I'm good. And so it takes, about 30 seconds for each spot to kind of give. It's like a pressure point release,
Mhm, mhm,
but it's something that you get to tune into your own body. You get to regulate the pressure. You get to do your own hurt so good,
mhm, mhm.
And so
'Cause you
I'm
know
just
the
guiding
outcome.
people.
Yeah.
So I'm more of a guide. I might help with placement. I might help with different alternative positionings, if you have joints that are hurting a little bit more than others or injuries. So I'm just mindful about that. But it's something that once you learn the tools, you can do them at home on your own.
This sounds incredible. I'm actually curious now.
Yeah.
And with releasing that physically, I'm sure there's that emotional release too of
Mhm.
having certain injuries that maybe, sometimes we carry these injuries forever, for
Yeah.
decades or years, or we think, oh, it's because I fell off my bike or I had this injury and my body has never been the same since, or I had surgery in that location that was like 7 years ago. But it's like all of a sudden now you do these physical movements like we were talking about earlier, the body's holding on to that. And all of a sudden now you release the pressure and the stress and the memory. And I can just see how the emotions can come up to the surface for a lot of people when they're
Yeah.
releasing that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love teaching it.
Yeah, I'll have to go to one of those classes. So, with your brand photography, which is so incredible, I've been to your website. I saw some of the really amazing pictures that you've taken or the sessions that you've created for people. And I know you focus on entrepreneurs, families too.
Yeah.
What is it that you love to capture with your clients when you're photographing them? Like what is it that that comes natural to you when you're with your clients?
I'm so drawn to personalities, quirks, details. So I love like getting people to laugh, to do things that might feel silly or uncomfortable because, that just gets them out of their shell a little bit and to really just allow themselves to be free. I know most people are very uncomfortable being in front of a camera, but especially with brand photography, I want to know you. I want to know your business. I want to know what it is that your clients are liking about you, why they are drawn to you. So the details of who you are. And so it's one of those things that I love getting the background information. I love being able to show women and men photos where they're like, oh my God, this is the comment I get the most. And it drives me nuts, but it's the truth. They're like, oh my God, you made me look so good. I didn't make you look anything. I literally captured you
Mhm,
being you. And
mhm,
so it's not me, and yes, I have a camera, but I know how to use the camera. I know lighting, I know angles, I know like expressions. And so it's seeing yourself that makes me so excited. And so that's really and truly what I love.
yeah, it's like a medium. It's like that entry point. It's like the
Mhm.
the connector point between you and that other person. And one of the things I loved about what you said on your website, you kind of alluded to it here today, is that there's a lot of people who have pictures or a picture on their website or none. I actually have a really good friend. She's an acupuncturist and she's been in practice forever and she's got a wait list, but she has no picture. It's one of those. I make
Yeah.
fun of her. It's like from 1999 website. It's very, very outdated and she's beautiful. One of the things that you do is you help people kind of recreate a new, like the latest version of who you are today. Because if
Right.
we do a photo shoot and we have just a few pictures from 5 years ago, we've changed. Let's
Mhm.
assume most people have changed. We evolve. We're supposed to evolve and change. And for a lot of people, especially in the last few years, they've changed careers or they've restructured their business in a way or their life has changed, whether it's divorce or maybe starting a new relationship or starting a new family. They've moved to a different location. Their life has changed, their business has changed. And so the pictures need to really represent that,
Yeah.
which sounds so intuitive and so natural to say that. But I like that you want to emphasize or capture that ongoing evolution of people.
Yeah. And it's so important. And one of my catchphrases, I guess you'll say, is if you're the face of your business, it's imperative that you're in front of it, that you're visible because you are the brand. So people need to know, like, and trust who you are. And they do so visually first. You know, They can skip all of your words that you write on a page. They want to see a picture and they don't want to see a stock image. 80% of stock images get ignored. They want to see you. And I will tell you, when I go to a website, I am always looking for that person. What are their pictures? What are they doing? What's like a unique thing that's about them? So it's, if you know a Marie Forleo,
Oh yeah.
well,
Oh, yeah.
she is her brand, and she is in, it's like an Oprah. She is in every picture. She is on the cover. She is in, like they are visible. And so I feel like people want to see you. People are voyeurs. They want to see you.
And
They
they
want to
want to
get to know you.
connect. Yeah.
Yeah, we are visually stimulated and we are inundated with images every single day. But I will tell you what stops people dead in their tracks is professional images. Yeah. So it's way different than a selfie. Yeah. And the profile image on, I'm just going to use Facebook, for example. It's the number one most visibly seen post that can happen in your post. So when you change your profile photo, it's the one that is seen first. Most people don't use the descriptor in there. So it says give a description. That is where you're supposed to say, hey, here's a new image of me. I'm sharing this because this is what's going on in my world. Here's where I want you to go. Check out my new website. Check out this link. Check out my new program. That is the place that is free advertising for people to utilize. And so anytime I work with people, and I share it often, even within my own profile, use that space. Update an image professionally, and you will get more likes, more looks. And it's not about the likes, it's about the engagement. People are seeing it, people are curious, people haven't seen you in a while, and they want to know what's going on. So,
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great reminder. Same thing with Instagram too, whether
yeah,
it's a personal channel, personal profile, or a business one, having that, whether you say, oh, this is what I do for a career, but to kind of put something very unique to you. Like I love coffee. Like everybody that knows me knows I'm obsessed with coffee. Like that's just part of who I am. And I love to
yeah,
cook and I'm a foodie and I love anything to do with food and dinner parties and things like that. So that's kind of, and I think people do connect with that,
mhm,
or if it's pets or if it's photography, people want to know who you are. Yeah, they might
yeah,
want to hire you for your specialty or your expertise, but they want to know the personality. They do want to know, like, and trust you, and they want to feel like
right,
this person's a human. This person is just down to earth and they have the same fears or insecurities, but they also have these beautiful joys or these unique quirks about them that I wasn't anticipating. But it builds that relationship too.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so your book, you wrote a book a few
Mhm.
years ago, Mind Body Soulmate. I love the title. And that was after you traveled or maybe during your travel. Tell us a little bit more about the book or like the gist of it. I mean, we already kind of know the gist of it, but like what is something you love about the book and how it led you to your current life and life partner?
Yeah. So a lot of it is that journey of the story of, checking off all the proverbial boxes in life and then having my corporate career end, going to Bali and having my world just turn upside down in a good way. Like I felt like I was flat on my stomach and then I was up and I'm like, oh, I can see everything now. And and I feel like it was one of those things that it gives permission to others to do something that might be radically scary, different, but their soul is just longing for that difference. I had never tried certain things before, but I was willing and I was willing and I was open. And it's like the second I was willing and open, it was like, oh, I actually kind of like that. Or that actually really brings me joy, or who I really am. And I didn't even know it because I was in the confines. And the problem is that I was living from that other self trying to meet somebody. And there was this friction either within the person, me, the universe, whatever it was that was saying, nope, not right person. Nope, not the right person. And really what it was saying is, Jen, you're not the right person yet. And I felt that. I felt like, my picker was broken is what I called it, and so I needed to fix, or in my book, I call it, I'm part of the common denominators club. I was the common denominator of all of those relationships. What am I going to do about that? So I did something about that. I didn't know. It wasn't like, I'm going to do something about that. It was just like, okay, these things unfolded. And because I changed so much on a healing sense, an emotional sense, on a trauma sense, I wasn't bringing that crap into a relationship. And so I came in with cleaner energy. I came in with more joy. I came in with more aliveness. I came in with more room to actually have somebody be in my life. And so when I met my current partner, he was like, I call it the double fuck yes. Where I was a fuck yes about him and he was a fuck yes about me. And we're like, okay, fuck yes, we're going forward. And if you don't have that, if it's kind of like a half-assed yes, then it's not really, going to go there. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we haven't had our own ups and downs in our relationship, but man, we are so solid, in who we are, what we want, and how we add value to each other's lives. And that's basically where that book is. And the one thing about the book is at the end of every chapter, it's not just my story. It's, hey, here's something that happened to me. Reflect back on you. How can you relate? What's your story when it comes to something similar? So it's not just a me vomiting my story at somebody. It's really about other people really looking within. And I've had a lot of women who have read my book whose lives have changed drastically because of it. And I really, really, really love, that I can support women in that way.
You inspired them, as we talked about earlier, your courage and that bravery and that embarking on that unknown path that led to that better version of you.
Yeah.
And you don't have to travel the world to do that. Awesome that you had that opportunity or gave yourself that opportunity. But you're right. I think looking like, okay, look at the person in the mirror. If you keep
Mhm.
attracting these wrong relationships, yeah, I mean, kind of go back and be like, what do I need to change about myself? What do I need to let go of? And that's so difficult for so many of us to do. And
Yeah.
once you finally like went through that arduous path, you came back a different version. Still you,
Mhm.
but just a
Yeah.
better upgraded version. And it was the right timing. I mean, not only the right timing, but you became the right person, like you said.
Yeah.
I love that story.
It was funny because you were actually at my Christmas party, but
Yeah.
one of my friends was like, "Oh, I knew the Gen 1.0 version," and I was just like, "Oh my god, I forget that I still have a few people in my world that knew my old
Yeah.
version of who I was because I feel so different now, and yeah, and I know that I'm such a better version of who I am now than it was back then."
Yeah. And the great thing about that is that not everybody's going to follow you on that path. Not everybody's going to be like, I love this new you. Like, I think a lot of just naturally we get uncomfortable when somebody changes too much, especially with our close friends or maybe
Yeah.
friends we grew up with, our family members. And sometimes it can be inspirational, but sometimes it can be very scary for a lot of people. And the fact that you still have those close friends that are like, I love you no matter what. I don't care what you
Mhm.
do or what projects you take on or what color you color your hair or whatever. I'm still going to be your friend. And
Yeah.
those are the best kind of friendships. Yeah. So, oh my God, I love this conversation. I love
Mhm.
where it took us, and I love every one of your stories and your vulnerable shares, and just that inspiration for so many, not just women but men too, who are afraid to kind of go down their own unique path of finding themselves. Where can people find you? Your social media, your book?
Sure. I'm on Instagram. I'm Jen McNiven. So it's Jen and then MacNiven. So I'm at Jen McNiven on Instagram. And then everywhere else, I'm Jennifer McNiven. So my Facebook, my LinkedIn, my website, it's all jennifermcniven.com. And then my book is called Mind, Body, Soulmate. And really about it's my unconventional journey of self-love to finding a true love. So yeah,
And
it's
that's on Amazon.
powerful. Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
Amazon, it's on Kindle, so it's not in paperback yet. I'm coming up on, believe it or not, and my 5-year anniversary of it. And I'm like,
Wow.
it's about damn time to get it in paperback.
Yeah,
I think there
totally.
was my own hang up and my own reservations of being out there even more than I am. So I'm again stepping into another chapter, stepping into a new uncomfortableness. Yeah, really wanting to put it out there this year. So, but thank you
Well,
for asking.
yeah, of course. Well, I look forward to reading it, and I look forward to seeing this new recreation that you're continually doing and evolving. And it's been a pleasure, Jen. Thank you for being
Thank
with us
you.
today.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Thank you for listening to the Fire, Soul, and Grace podcast. Share this episode with someone in your life. Subscribe to this podcast so you can hear more valuable content on how to live your best life. Be sure to connect with us at firesoulandgracepodcast.com, and please join us in the next episode. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the host and the guest and are not intended to provide, nor are they a suitable substitute for professional care by a doctor, therapist, mental health professional, or other qualified medical professional.